Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going deep on something I've always found fascinating, near-death experiences.
Yeah, these NDEs, they're really something else, aren't they?
Definitely. You know those stories where people talk about, like, leaving their bodies or feeling this intense peace,
Hmm.
or even, like, meeting a bright light?
Oh, yeah, the bright light, it's a classic.
So we're diving into a book called The Truth About Afterlife at the Near-Death Experience today.
Cool.
Really trying to figure out what makes these accounts so powerful and
Oh.
if they tell us anything about,
Mm.
life, death, consciousness, the whole shebang.
It's amazing how these experiences often happen when someone's like right on the edge of death.
Right. Like in those really intense life or death moments.
And they seem to cut across all these different cultures and religions.
It's like a common thread.
Yeah, totally. Like people from all walks of life describing similar elements. So it makes you think maybe there's something universal about the phenomenon itself.
Yeah, it really gets you thinking like, is there more to consciousness than we realize? I mean, if
Mm.
people are having these experiences, no matter what they believe or where they come from, it's hard to just brush it off as like some random hallucination, right?
Right. And that's where it gets really interesting. The book even asks, like, could consciousness be part of something bigger? Like a vast, interconnected tapestry of existence.
Ooh.
It makes you rethink the whole mind-body connection.
Okay, so let's break down this idea of shared consciousness a little bit.
Hmm.
What specifically makes researchers think NDEs are pointing towards this interconnectedness?
Well, the book talks about these striking similarities in the stories people tell, the
Yeah.
bright light, for instance.
Oh, yeah, the bright light, it comes up a lot.
It does. Across cultures, people describe it in similar ways, often like
Yeah.
a being of pure love and acceptance.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful image, isn't it?
It is.
And, it seems like this encounter with the light often leads to people feeling less afraid of death.
Mm.
Why do you think that is? Is it just because they've sort of seen what's on the other side? Or is there something deeper going on?
That's a great question. The book suggests it's not just about seeing the light.
Hmm,
It's more about experiencing this like fundamental shift in perspective.
like a whole new way of looking at things.
Exactly. It's as if they suddenly recognize this like core truth about existence, a truth that goes beyond our everyday fears and worries.
So it's not necessarily about believing in a specific afterlife, but more about this shift in understanding.
Right. It's about recognizing that our consciousness might be part of something much larger, something we can't fully grasp right now.
Wow. And you're saying that realization can be incredibly freeing, especially when it comes to facing our own mortality.
Absolutely. It's like they've touched this deeper reality, and that changes everything.
This is already blowing my mind. We're just getting started. Let's dig into some of those changes people report after NDEs. What really stood out to you from the book?
One of the biggest things is this newfound sense of purpose. It's like the NDE was this catalyst, you
Like a
know.
wake-up call.
Yeah, exactly. It pushes them to reevaluate what's important and align their lives with this deeper meaning.
So it's not just about getting over the fear of death, but about embracing life more fully.
You got it. The book talks about how NDEers often come back with this deep appreciation for the simple things.
I can see that.
They're not so caught up in the little things anymore. The worries, the material stuff.
Like a shift in priorities.
Exactly. Instead, they focus on connection, compassion, making a positive impact on the world.
That's beautiful. And it's fascinating how often that sense of purpose turns into a desire to help others.
It is, isn't it?
The book even poses this question, like, imagine a world where fear doesn't run the show. What kind of impact do you think that shift could have on society?
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is.
Imagine a world where people weren't constantly driven by fear of like scarcity loss, the unknown.
That's a lot of what drives us, right?
Yeah, for sure. But what if instead we were all motivated by this deep understanding of our interconnectedness, like a genuine desire to just contribute to the well-being of others?
That's a pretty radical concept, but it seems like that's what a lot of NDErs experience naturally after their encounter.
Yeah, and that's what makes these accounts so valuable. They
Yeah.
offer a glimpse into a different way of being, a way of living that's rooted in love,
Mm.
compassion, and this profound sense of unity.
Makes you wonder if we could all tap into that feeling of interconnectedness even without having to go through a near-death experience.
Maybe we can. Maybe the key is to cultivate those qualities of compassion and understanding in our daily lives.
I love that. That brings us to another fascinating part of NDEs, this dissolution of fear.
Mm.
What does the book say about that? And why do you think it's such a common thread in these stories?
Well, it emphasizes that it's not just about losing the fear of death. It's
Mhm.
more like this overall liberation from fear itself.
Wow, imagine living without all those anxieties that weigh us down.
Mm.
The fear of failure, rejection,
Mm.
the unknown.
It's powerful, isn't it?
It is. But is it even possible to live without fear entirely?
Mm.
Wouldn't that make us, like, reckless or naive?
That's where the book makes a distinction between fear and wisdom.
Okay.
It suggests NDers don't become fearless in the sense of being reckless.
Right.
Instead, they develop this deeper understanding of life's true nature,
I see.
which allows them to navigate the world with more courage and clarity.
So it's not about ignoring danger or pretending everything's perfect.
No.
It's about facing life's challenges with a different perspective. A perspective rooted in a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe.
Exactly. And that shift often leads to a more altruistic approach to life. The book described how many NDers feel compelled to help others,
Hmm.
not out of obligation or a desire for recognition, but from this genuine sense of connection and empathy.
It's like they've seen the interconnectedness of everything and feel this responsibility to contribute to the well-being of the whole.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really interesting. What if this interconnectedness isn't just a feeling?
What if it's like a fundamental aspect of reality?
Exactly. And that's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive. We'll be right back to explore those mind-bending concepts of timelessness and non-locality as they relate to NDEs.
Okay, so we're back and ready to like really go deep on NDEs.
Yeah, get into the really out there stuff.
Exactly. Talking about timelessness and non-locality, like these are the parts of NDEs that really make you question everything you thought you knew about reality.
I know, they really push the limits of our understanding, don't they?
So let's start with timelessness. The book mentions people experiencing events all at once, like time just loses all meaning. What does that even mean?
Well, it kind of throws the whole linear model of time out the window, like the idea that the time flows in one direction, past to present to future. In these NDEs, time becomes like fluid, almost irrelevant.
Hmm,
People describe experiencing past, present, and future all at the same time, so it suggests there might be a reality beyond our normal perception.
that's wild. It makes you wonder if time as we know it is just something our minds create to help us understand the world.
Right, not necessarily a fundamental truth of the universe.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so if time isn't really what we think it is, what happens to the idea of cause and effect?
Yeah.
One thing leading to another.
Oh, that's a great question, and it's one philosophers have been debating forever. If time isn't linear, it really messes with our understanding of cause and effect, right?
Right.
It suggests that events could be connected in ways we can't even grasp from our limited perspective.
It's so hard to wrap your head around.
Mm.
And then there's non-locality, which is equally mind-boggling. Remind me what that one's all about.
Non-locality is basically the ability to perceive things from a location that's totally separate from your physical body.
So like the out-of-body experience thing.
Exactly. People report seeing and hearing things that are happening somewhere else, even while their bodies are like unconscious or not responding.
So it's like consciousness can detach from the body and experience the world from this whole other vantage point.
Right, and that really challenges the idea that consciousness is just a product of the brain.
Because if your consciousness can be somewhere else while your brain's not active.
It's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Exactly.
Non-locality suggests that consciousness might be able to operate independently of the physical body, even existing outside the limits of space and time as we know them.
Now, the book hinted at a connection between non-locality and quantum physics. Can you unpack that a little?
Sure thing. So quantum physics has revealed some seriously weird things about reality, right?
Uh,
One of the craziest concepts is quantum entanglement,
I've heard of that.
where two particles, no matter how far apart, are linked in a way that just defies our normal understanding of physics.
So if you change one particle, the other one instantly changes too, even if they're miles apart.
Yeah, spooky action at a distance.
It's mind-blowing.
It suggests this deeper level of interconnectedness is at play, something that goes beyond our everyday ideas of space and time.
So you're saying there could be a link between quantum physics and these profound experiences people have during NDEs.
It's a possibility worth considering. The book suggests that both quantum physics and NDEs point toward a reality that's way more interconnected and mysterious than we tend to think.
Okay, so this is all super fascinating
Mhm.
and definitely pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. What are some practical takeaways from these mind-bending concepts? Like, how can we apply these insights to our daily lives?
Well, first off, it encourages us to question our assumptions about reality. We tend to think of the world as this fixed, objective place.
Right, like what you see is what you get.
But NDEs suggest that there might be way more to the story.
So instead of just accepting our limited view of reality, we should be open to the possibility that there are other dimensions, other ways of experiencing the world that we're not even aware of.
Exactly, and that openness can lead to a more expansive and fulfilling way of living.
I like that.
It allows us to embrace the mystery, to appreciate the interconnectedness of everything, and to live with a sense of wonder and awe.
It's like these NDE accounts are a wake-up call urging us to pay attention to the subtle things in reality that we might otherwise miss.
Right, and maybe by cultivating that awareness, we can start to tap into a deeper level of consciousness, something that connects us to something greater than ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah.
But how does all of this tie in with the ethical and moral insights that people often have after NDEs?
Great question.
Yeah.
We'll explore that connection next.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm really curious to connect these dots,
Yeah.
between like the mind-bending parts of NDEs and the ethical and moral stuff people talk about after these experiences.
Right.
It seems like there's this link between seeing the universe in a totally new way and wanting to live a more meaningful life.
It's a powerful connection,
Yeah.
The book points out that no matter what someone's background is, their beliefs or culture, they often come back from an NDE with this emphasis on universal values. Love, forgiveness, compassion. It's like glimpsing this bigger reality makes those values feel way more important.
So it's not about following a specific set of rules, but more about tapping into this deeper understanding of what it means to be human.
Exactly. The book even asks if maybe these universal virtues are like built into human nature, something that becomes more clear when people are close to death.
That makes me think about how NDErs often talk about this overwhelming sense of love and acceptance they feel during their experience.
Right.
Could that be why they shift towards a more compassionate way of being?
It's definitely possible. The book suggests that experiencing that kind of unconditional love, often described as coming from the bright light, can be a real game changer.
Right.
It's like seeing the world through this lens of interconnectedness, recognizing the worth and dignity of every living being.
It's a beautiful idea, but how do we bring that into everyday life? Like, how do we cultivate that same sense of love and connection in a world that can feel so divided and chaotic?
Well, the book challenges us to think about how our lives would change if we really embraced these values. What if we approached every interaction with compassion and understanding, trying to find common ground instead of focusing on differences?
It sounds idealistic,
Right.
but I can see how incorporating even small acts of kindness and empathy could make a difference.
Exactly. It's not about reaching some perfect state of enlightenment. It's about making those conscious choices that reflect those values of interconnectedness and compassion.
Like shifting our focus from me to we, recognizing that we're all part of this bigger picture.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that thought-provoking question from the book. If NDEs suggest this universal spiritual or conscious dimension, how should that knowledge influence our daily lives?
That's a question we all have to answer for ourselves. But
Yeah.
the book seems to say it shouldn't just be an intellectual thing, you know?
Right.
Like it should inspire us to live differently.
Absolutely. It's about putting these insights into action in our relationships and how we see the world.
So it's not just about what happens during an NDE, but about how we live our lives because of what we've learned from them.
Exactly. And that's what makes this topic so captivating. It challenges us to expand our awareness, to embrace the mystery of consciousness, and to live more meaningful lives.
Well, I think we've only just scratched the surface of this incredible topic, but hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, a new perspective on NDEs and all the big questions they raise
Absolutely.
about life, consciousness, our place in the universe. Thanks for joining us, and keep exploring those mysteries.
Keep questioning.
Until next time.